Good evening, good evening. Thankfully this is working because Facebook changed something yesterday and I was quite concerned. Something has popped up to say comments will appear here, which is great. So at least I think that's going to be fine. Hi Missy, you're the first one here. So hopefully that's going to work. Hello good people, let me know who you are by giving me a thumbs up or pressing something. Hi, I'm Doreen. How are you doing? Lovely to have you on here. Guys, I would like you to say something so that I can, greet you as you're coming. Patience, thank you for joining. Hi, Missy. It's great to have you on here. I am very, very happy to be back with the first episode of Speak with Dilys on the third series. Hi Shirley Ann, how are you doing? Hello William, I'm so glad that you were able to find me. Hi Vanessa. Guys, if I could just have 5 of you. Hi Priscilla, if I could just have 5 of you share this video, that would be great. Hi Dutchie, how are you doing? I have to apologize because I did make a mistake on the fly in regards to the time because the clocks went back. So those of you that aren't in England, the clocks went back last night. I did say hi to Emma, didn't I? Priscilla, it's lovely to have you on here. Priscilla also has a show that she does on Facebook. I'm sure she will put the details in the comments box because I believe that, sharing is caring. I'm not selfish, I'm not precious. I can't take up the whole of Facebook. So Priscilla, do put your details in the comment section. Hi Abana, it's so lovely to have you on here. Hello Abigail. Great to have you on here, guys. I really appreciate you coming to have this time with me. It is great to have you on here. So I'm going to take a sip of my water and we're going to crack on because we only have an hour. Now, I was thinking of making it a special. We'll see how things go, which means it'll be tops an hour and a half. I'm not sure. Dutchie, I am very well, thank you. Hi, Dee, for joining. Guys, this is a very important topic, and as I kind of messed up with the times, if you wouldn't mind, could 5 of you just share this? If you could change the privacy on there so that it's public, just share it and say, we are talking about the LGBT community. Would you be interested in joining the conversation? It's not gin and tonic, it really is water. Righty-ho. So, guys, let me not be rude. How are you all feeling this evening? If you're feeling great, give me a thumbs up, give me some love, show me some hearts. I don't know whether that feature is still working on here because, as I said, they've changed a few things on Facebook, as always. But if not, by all means, put something in the comment section to show that you are feeling great so that I know that I am speaking to a room full of people that are feeling kind of cool. Hi, Mavis, how are you? Thank you for joining. I do like to acknowledge people, as they come on here. And it's 7 minutes past 8. We're gonna, oh yes, it is working. Guys, I want to see some thumbs up and some hearts, please. Loads. I want my page saturated with them. Dee says, all cool and you. I'm very well, thank you. I'm really good. Hi, Denise is in the house. It's great to see you. Right, I'm gonna crack on. Okay, guys, so I'm glad that you're feeling well. I'm good. A little tired, but who cares? We've got a very important conversation that we need to have this evening. And as I've said, if 5 of you could share this broadcast, just quickly click share, that would be great. Bridget, lovely to have you on here. I haven't seen your name before, so if you're new, welcome. I hope you do enjoy this and I hope you will share it with other people in your network. Okay, let's crack on. So Speak with Dilys. It is the first episode of the 3rd series. El Kufre, thank you. So I call him El Kufre. He is the person that does all my flyers. Hi, Kate. Lovely to have you on here. Haven't seen you in a while. God bless you. Speak with Dilys. Welcome to the 3rd episode of the 3rd series of the 1st episode. And I've named it Burden or Bill. And essentially what we will be talking about... Hey, hi, Rita. How are you doing? That's my cousin, actually. We will be talking about the LGBTQ bill that is they are looking to get it passed in Ghana. So for those of you that maybe didn't see the context around why it was being discussed this evening, I'm going to quickly read. Thank you very much, Ifya, for sharing. Hi, Ikuya. Hi, Lamine. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So this is what we're talking about. And I think it's really important that I just quickly say, for those of you who haven't ever been on here, I put together Speak with Dilys because I felt that there were very important conversations that we don't have, that we need to have. And one of the primary things that motivated me to put this together was so that I could create a safe space for some of these conversations to be discussed. So essentially, it's about things that matter, people who count, and information that needs to be heard. That is what you will find on Speak with Dilys every Sunday at 8 p.m. So here goes, and this is, we're getting into it now. Now, Burden or Bill will be an open and frank discussion about whether there is a need to shift attitudes towards the LGBTQ community in Ghana. Why is this important, you might ask? Well, there's a bill that is being discussed and has gained a lot of attention called Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill, 2021. Okay, it's called Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill, 2021. Okay, does homosexuality go against the beliefs of Ghanaians? And just as importantly, our culture, because culture was a big thing that was being discussed as to why they wanted to further compound, the position of the law to show that it wasn't part of where we as Africans or as Ghanaians, where we come from or are comfortable, okay? So I said, should religious groups, because they have been very, very vocal in this discussion, should religious groups, where am I? Should they have the power to set the bar on morality of what is acceptable or not? And as I said, as homosexuality is already a crime, what is the need or urgency to further compound the position of law? And is there any middle ground for or against the passing of this bill, or is Ghana just far behind the times? Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about. Evening, thank you very much for joining. And is that, I think it's Artist Thomas, thank you for being on here. Guys, this is where we get into it. So I'm going to give you a bit of background. If you haven't shared this, please share it, because I really do want a lot of people to be with us in the beginning so that they can get where we're going, and as they say, nobody left behind. So this is the background. So the overview of the bill and why it came about is essentially because a group of people got together and set up an office in Ghana to basically advocate for LGBTQ rights, or for the LGBTQ community. Obviously, it didn't go down well. Forget the fact that it's classed, it's still deemed as a crime. It didn't go down well. And there was uproar. So what happened was, I think it was the thing that made certain people, groups of people, what have you, get together and say, right, we need to shut this down. So the argument was that it goes against Christian values, as well as it going against our culture as Ghanaians. Now, for those of you that don't know, I am Ghanaian. So I was born and raised in England, but I am very Ghanaian. I speak the language, I eat the food. I'm there most of the time. Well, a lot of the time. I have, set up a charity, an NGO in Ghana and stuff. I am Ghanaian, okay? Very Ghanaian. And having been raised in Ghana for a significant amount of time, in as much that I went to secondary school in Ghana, I did 2 years of primary and I did 5 years of secondary. So I was in Ghana for 7 years, from the age of 10 to 17, which is when I learnt about the language and was introduced to our culture. Hi, Evelyn, I'm doing very well. Dania, lovely to have you on here. And Brenda as well. Okay, so that is the background. A little bit about me for those of you that don't know me. So I believe that I am well equipped to discuss the culture aspect of being LGBTQ in Ghana. So it goes against Christian values and our culture, is what predominantly has been the reason for people wanting this bill to be put in place. So the bill seeks to ensure, in a nutshell, that those from that community are not given legal rights to exist in the context of having their status recognised in law, and to further ensure that sympathisers, and I'm going to elaborate on this, that sympathisers to the cause of the LGBTQ community are duly punished under the new proposed laws, which is not something that is part of the bill that is around homosexuality being a crime. There is nothing in there that has any provision for sympathisers of homosexuals. And as I go on, it will become a lot clearer as to why that part is in there. Homosexuality in Ghana is a crime, and the bill seeks to ensure that it remains so, but has far more reaching powers enforceable by this new bill. The bill is called, as I mentioned, the Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill. This passing of the bill means anyone convicted of being gay, I believe there is a mandatory sentence of 5 years. However, anybody promoting gay rights, or rather is a sympathiser of that community, can face up to 10 years in jail. In addition to that, what the bill makes provision for, and I think provision is probably quite an off-key word to use when I explain, if you are somebody that sympathises with the LGBTQ community, you also can be convicted of a crime. Sorry, if you suspect somebody of being within that community and you don't report it, you now have a burden of having to report somebody that you suspect, not that you know, but that you suspect is from the LGBTQ community. You have a legal obligation, if this bill goes through, to report such persons to the police. If you don't, then you have committed a crime. So I'm just giving you the background here. So this is where I want to... Guys, are you with me so far? Give me a thumbs up. Anything in the comments? Let me see if there's anything in the comments. Are you guys with me so far? Because I don't want to just run with it. So what you've heard so far, give me your views, and I will proceed from there, because after you give me your views, I'm going to put it out there, certain things about culture. So what are you guys saying? How do you feel thus far with what you have heard? Hi, Iviera, lovely to have you on here, and Yvonne as well. Mokhtar, lovely to have you on here. Is that Irene? Irene, lovely to have you on here. I actually want to hear what, I know I can see some emojis like shock face emojis, but I want you to tell me what you think about what I've just read. The fact that, yes, homosexuality in Ghana is a crime. The fact that the bill would seek to make it more applicable to not just homosexuals, but, lesbians, gays, queer, trans, far more wide reaching. And also the fact that the bill seeks to make people who suspect others of being gay have a legal obligation to report such people. Okay, so I can see one comment here, and it says, according to several associations defending LGBT rights on the African continent, Ghana has seen an unprecedented wave of homophobia over the past several years. Yes, I would not argue with that. Vanessa says people will keep more silent. There's that. Shirley says, I don't think anyone should be charged for not reporting, but that is what the bill seeks to do. So now let's really go into it. One of the fundamental things that, those who are pushing for this bill to be made into law is that the fact that LGBTQ people are not representative of the Ghanaian culture. That is a lie. That is not true. And I know this is where people are going to think that I'm being controversial, but there's a reason why I said that I was raised in Ghana from the age of 10 to 17 and did 5 years of my secondary education. Guys, I think this is a really important conversation to be having. So if you have joined, I would really appreciate it if just 5 of you would just share this broadcast so that we get more people having this conversation. And now I'm going to get into it. In terms of it not being our culture, it is a lie. And I will tell you why. And maybe I will start from my mum. My mum is 81 years of age this December. And I recall having a conversation with my mum about lesbianism. Now, my mum was in a girls' school, as I was. The one thing that was rife in school was lesbianism. It was rife. Now, though I wasn't in the boarding house, I spent a significant amount of time in the boarding house. There were, you know, most of my friends were in the boarding house. And there was a name for it, and it was called Soupy. And I remember there was even a time where there was this, I think the teachers had said that anybody caught doing Soupy would be in trouble. I'm going to explain to you exactly what it was. So when we say it's not our culture, that is not true. And I'm really going to break this down. I hope that this next 40 minutes is going to be long enough. In secondary school, you go in as a young girl, and it is a given that you will have a Soupy who will be a senior. Normally, it was rare to have Soupy, which was like a partner, a lesbian lover, that wasn't senior to, you know, to the juniors. It was rare that it was amongst. I did see a few people of the same age group in that relationship, but most certainly with the seniors, it was very common. Now, I recall sometimes going into the boarding house, and you know, people might be upset at me revealing this, but the thing that we need in this conversation is the truth. And what would happen is they would have like a piece of material that would be draped around the bunk beds, and all sorts of things would be going on in there. All sorts of things would be going on in there. So when we say that it's against our culture, and my mum, who was in a girls' school and who is 81 years of age, is saying, yeah, it used to happen then, I'm a little bit curious as to why we're saying it's not our culture, because those children in those schools have now become adults and are now the people who are in Parliament, in the bank, teachers, lawyers, doctors. We are the community, and therefore we are the culture. So I am confused as to why we are saying homosexuality, lesbianism goes against Ghanaian culture. It's a lie. Because we then need to define what is our culture. Because culture means the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a particular group of people in society. Now, if I'm saying to you that I was in a girls' school and having Soupy, which for those of you who have just joined, was like lesbian lovers, it was common. It was common. I was fortunate in as much that one, I wasn't in the boarding house, and two, coming from England, they're probably thinking, oh, you might not be used to this, because the kids were very sexualized. Let's not lie. The kids were very, very sexualized. And for those that came into the school who were like little, tiny and petite, you would have a senior, you're going to be my Soupy, and that's it. You'd be looked after, you'd be pampered, you'd be cared for. So let's not lie. Yes, if you said it was called tent, that was the word I was looking for. Because that's what they would do. They would build these tents and all sorts of sexual activity would go in there. Those kids become adults. Those kids become wives, mothers, what have you. I know some of them. I went to school with some of them. I know what some of them did. A lot of them are married now. And some have carried on that way of life even though they are married. So when we talk about culture, and I'm not just going to focus on the girls' school, I had a conversation with somebody whom I'm not obviously going to reveal their name, and we were having this conversation. And I asked him, did you go to a boys' school or was it a mixed school? He said a boys' school. I said, I dare you to tell me that homosexual activity was not rife in school. And he could not argue with me. And that's when I said, when we talk about our culture, are we talking about our culture in practice or our culture in theory? Because if we are talking about our culture in practice, we cannot say that the LGBTQ community are alien to the Ghanaian culture. It is a lie. Let me read some of your comments. Joshi said, they are trying to clean it up before it's too late. That is what it looks like to me. I think I can see where you're coming from. Fifi says, our culture, I think you mean frowns on it. Yes, we frown on it in public because you find that a lot of people who are homophobic are homosexual themselves. A lot of people who are really against homosexuality have their own secret. That's common. Okay, so let me read some of your comments. Let me try and go back. Okay, let's see what William is saying. So William says, I wish I'd worn something darker because I can't actually see the contrast of the white writing. Next time I'll come all in black. Okay, so as draconian as the bill might be, the Ghanaian society needs to be insulated from external influences that are at variance with our values. On the periphery, there may be cases of same-sex encounters, but the society as a whole rejects and shuns the lifestyle. I would challenge you on that one. And this is why I say in practice and in theory, that when you say the Ghanaian society, we are the society. We are the society that was in the schools practicing same-sex relationships. But now that we are married and we hold big positions, we are saying, no, it doesn't happen. It's just for a few, it's just but a few people. And it's also external influences. It is a lie. I'm sorry, but that is a lie. For any Ghanaian to say, for those of you who are Ghanaian, there's a phrase that we have called, is it kojobesia? Meaning a man who is effeminate like a woman. That saying has been there since 1864, the year of Cronenberg. So if it was so alien to us, how come we have a name for it? Kojobesia didn't come about in Ghanaian vocabulary since Facebook or since the internet. That phrase has been there since way back when. Yes, we frown upon it. I will give you an example. In Afghanistan, as we know, it's a Muslim state where they practice Sharia law. Yet still in Afghanistan, underground, they have young boys who perform dances and stuff for men, Muslim men, whom they have sex with. Yes, outwardly it's frowned upon, but in practice it is not, privately. It's the same situation with what we're talking about in terms of the LGBTQ community in Ghana. And I'm saying that we need to accept that that is part of the culture in order for us to be able to tackle it. Okay? So when we talk about what has been happening in our schools, my issue is this. We haven't been able to protect children in our schools on a fundamental level. And if we haven't made it our concern to protect the rights of children, I think we have got our priorities messed up if we are worrying about the decisions and choices of adults. I will repeat that. If we are not looking at how we protect the rights of children, then we have got our priorities messed up if we are concentrating on the choices of adults. Because it is also alien to our culture, or it should be, for children to be sexually abused. It should also be alien to our culture for women to be raped. It should be alien to our culture. But is it? In 1995, I believe it was, husbands being able to be accused of raping their wives was quashed. What does that say about us? We are worried about what two people choose to do, but we are quite happy to turn our back on women and children who don't want to do. And all I'm saying is, should there not be an equal concern for all people in terms of the protection of their rights? That's my view. I'm just saying, I am just questioning why we don't have religious leaders and different people being so incensed and angry that children are still being raped and abused by teachers. There was somewhere in the central region where I read a story where they'd lined up these young girls who were all impregnated by their teachers. They were teenagers. I didn't see any bills being passed I didn't see any stringent measures being put in place for teachers to ensure that they do not violate children. I'm just throwing it out there. Do you think we have our priorities a little bit messed up? Let me know. I'm going to read some of your comments. So, Aisha Ankra says, the religious officials are trying to impose views that do not reflect our diversity and rich cultural heritage. Parliamentarians should not be guided by their religious ideas. The agenda of our country should not be dictated by religion. Very, very good point. I do think I can agree with that. Okay. Yemisi says homosexuality has been with us in Ghana for a very long time. Yes, from the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. I grew up knowing people who were known homosexuals. Remember Supi? Well, yep, how could I forget it? I believe it's always been there, and honestly, the bill does not move me one way or the other. Why? Homosexuality is already illegal in Ghana, as far as our statute books are concerned. I do feel, though, that as an activist for several causes, including sexual abuse and domestic violence, there is more urgency to ensure to deal with these crimes than has happened. I made exactly the same point, and that's why I'm saying that, is it that we have got our priorities slightly messed up? Because you do not see the same zeal and passion for those who can't defend themselves and don't have a choice. Denise says, just a comment, I hope that the persons who are part of bringing this bill to be made law know that they too have skeletons in their closet. Don't target one part of society and ignore other important issues as rape in marriage, there you go, child molestation, honour killings, etc. Who are we to judge? Interesting. Thank you very much for that, Denise. Let me see. Fifi Benji said, the fact that they were hiding doing it doesn't make it right. And does it make it wrong? I'm not saying, I'm not for or against. I'm saying, do we have our priorities in the right order? And is it right that we criminalize people who, because what we're saying with this bill is, okay, so Fifi, you've made this comment. Maybe I'm angry with you. What this bill says is, I can go to the police and say, I suspect Fifi of being gay. He walks a little bit funny, and I've heard that he has a boyfriend. On the basis of that, if this bill is passed, it means you can be arrested. And then the burden of proof is on you to prove that you are not part of the LGBTQ community. Does that sound right to you? Does that not sound dangerous to you? That's what I'm talking about. So what I'm hoping to do here is to have, I'm not saying for or against, I'm just putting it out there. I'm giving you the information and saying, well, this part of the bill is not true. If we say it's not our culture, that's not true. We are very, very used to that way of life because it's always been there. We just hide it. So the fact that it's hidden doesn't mean it's not there. Okay? Right. So Fifi says homosexual is everywhere. Or I think homosexuality is everywhere around the world, but laws are made to guide it and protect humans. Which laws? Because as far as I'm aware, the laws in this country where I live, in England, the laws are there to protect the LGBTQ community so that they are not criminalized. They're not treated like criminals. So I am wondering why something that has been in our community since the beginning of time, how this law seeks to change that. What will happen differently? Because as Yemisi said, homosexuality is already a crime. It's not like it's now being criminalized. What's being further criminalized is a far wider reaching group, as well as people like myself who could be minding my business, and I'm being told that if I suspect that Fifi is gay, using as an example, I must go and report Fifi. But how do I know Fifi is gay? All the bill is saying is that I just have to suspect, and that gives me legitimate cause to go and report you for the police to come and arrest you. Surely you cannot think that that is even sensible, much less right. Okay. Doris Folson says, I disagree with you on the Supi being part of the Ghanaian culture on the basis that the Supi has been practiced in boarding schools for years. I think that's a contradiction in terms. If you're saying it's been practiced for years, then of course it's part of our culture. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I'm saying you've just made the argument. You've admitted that it has been practiced in boarding schools for years. So therefore, it's part of our culture. If you were saying that no, it's not been practiced, then you'd have an argument. But if you are also admitting that it has been practiced for years, then it is part of our culture. It can only not be part of our culture when we don't practice it. For as long as we are practicing it, it is part of our culture. Let me read from somebody that hasn't... I haven't read their comment. Blessed says, I'm crushing on you, absolutely gorgeous. Thank you very much. I was trying to hide the tiredness because I've been out. I was taken out yesterday and it was lovely. Oh, and you like my top. Thank you very much. So, Acosta Dodd, thank you, Big Sis, for being here. And for Na Amanua, who is here as well. Stella, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you guys being on here. Denise says it opens doors for people to be malicious and have innocent persons at risk. Exactly my point. I think it is. It is. That's a dangerous part of the bill that I don't know what they were thinking. So my point again is, what are we doing to help children? So when I mentioned about some of the boys' schools, that this is common, and the person that I spoke to admitted that yes, it is common. It happens all the time. I remember when I was in school, just when I was finishing my O-levels, because it was O-levels back then, and I'm not going to mention the name of the school, that would be inappropriate, but I will say it was a very popular boys' school. This boy would intentionally target the junior boys coming into the school. And what he would do is he basically would sexually abuse them. So they set a trap for him. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but they set a trap for this boy who, by sending in, it must have been so traumatic, by sending in one of the junior boys to pretend that he was game for him to have sex with him. And when he went to do the deed, that's when the other boys nabbed him and, he got expelled. Did he get expelled from the school? Well, he was taken out of the boarding house, but he was allowed to sit his exams. Now, what I am told by many guys is that it happens just as much in the boys' schools. Let's not be pedantic here and play with words. If it is happening often, then it is a part of our culture. And so therefore, how do we address that part of our culture? So when we say there's a rape culture in a country, it doesn't mean that it's a culture that people are proud of. That's what a culture means when it's tagged onto something negative, like there's a rape culture or there's a drinking culture or there's a da-da-da-da culture. It means it's something that happens very often. It's not a one-off. It has become part of the fabric of a particular group of people in a particular place. So I hope that kind of makes it a bit more understandable as to why I'm saying it is part of our culture. My point is this. If we fail to protect children, we fail society. It's like bolting the barn doors after the horse has bolted. If we are so concerned about this part of society, then we need to start from the very beginning. Now, I have a friend on Facebook. Again, I'm not going to mention their name, but they did post this. I don't know if their status was public, but what he said was that he's a victim of sexual abuse and has lived as a gay man all his life. But he put up a very interesting post just a few days ago where he said he wonders what would have happened if he was not sexually abused as a child. If maybe he would have lived differently. Now, there's two things I'm going to say about this. Number one, I am not in any way, shape or form saying that gay people are only gay because they were sexually abused. Absolutely not. But the point I am making by referencing this person is that in our failure to protect children against rape and sexual abuse, if somebody who has been sexually abused as a male, for example, and as a result of that, because that is the only kind of sex that they know, live as a gay person, I think it is an indictment on us to vilify such a person. Because what we would have done is we would have failed. So for that reason, it is incumbent on us to be able to protect children and the rights of children. I've tried to run a campaign in schools called the Teach Don't Touch campaign, where this was against teachers touching children. But within that narrative, I was also saying we need to address the child-on-child abuse because it is prevalent. It is prevalent. And if it is prevalent, it means it's something that we need to address. In our failure to do so and focusing our energies and efforts solely on adults, even as a parent, I find that concerning. But that's just me. Okay, so let me read one of your comments. So William Manfield says, are knife crimes part of Britain's culture? Yes, it is. There is a knife. It is part of a culture of a particular group of people. The thing is, you can't get away from the word culture. It is what it is. Is hooliganism a part of English football culture? Yes, it is. If you want the answer, yeah, it is. It is. In fact, that's the worst example you could even use. Of course it is. It is part of it. Absolutely. And that's the reason why, to address it, they started to deal with the actual football clubs to address the hooliganism culture of football. So yes, it is. But the difference with those situations is they did something about it. They didn't try and sweep it under the carpet to say, well, it's not part of our culture because some people aren't hooligans. What they said was, we are going to ban you from coming to certain games and we are going to start to fine your clubs if you don't behave. That is why some people have to, play football behind closed doors. I know there's a proper term for it. I'd have to ask my daughter. She's the football guru in the house. So the answer is yes. The fact that a community tries to expunge a certain kind of behaviour determines what is seen as normal and cultural in that society. I disagree. Because I'm saying if you're not being honest about it, how are you expunging anything? Because you're saying it doesn't happen. And if you're saying it doesn't happen, then what's the big deal? If you're dealing with just a couple of people, why would the bill then be necessary? But the fact of the matter is, you are dealing with far more than a couple. And what I find interesting about this as well is the fact that there's a saying in Chi that says, if you be a mansawu, meaning in every house there's a devil. And I'm not saying I'm not referring to gay people as devils. I'm just saying this as an example. There are people in your family that are gay. The fact that they haven't come out and disclosed to you that they're gay doesn't mean they're not gay and doesn't mean they're not there. And I'll be interested to see how passionately people will be when you find out this is your child. Because I am telling you, there are some of you watching now who have gay relatives. Believe you me. You can deceive yourself and think, I'm telling you. And the day that you find out, you probably might want to rethink some of this. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Okay, so Fifi says, are you saying it's schools? Because schools, we all know, are made up with diverse characters, with people coming from different backgrounds. We wanted to prove something which couldn't help us. I don't understand your comment. You'd have to rephrase that, Fifi. I'm really sorry. Fifi said, we never saw or heard of any tribe or culture having same-sex marriage. People did it in secrecy, which is not right. Okay, well, I don't know whether you're saying because they did it in secrecy, they should be able to do it publicly, but I'm not talking about same-sex marriage. I'm just talking about the LGBTQ community. I do have my views on same-sex marriage. I also have my views on gays insisting on being married in church that don't agree with that. I have my views on that, but, it's such a wide-reaching conversation that, we could go in any other way, and I'm only on point 3 and haven't got a lot of time. So let's try and whiz through this. Raj, thank you very much. Thank you for your compliments. So long as they're kept respectful, I will absolutely appreciate them. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, so contradictions. I've got here that there is a little bit of a contradiction of how we view Okay, hold on a second. All right, let me just go back to here. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about as well is this bill. How does it deal with, people who have been born with both sexual organs, but from birth have been assigned a particular gender? And then realize that they've grown up that actually, no, I'm not a girl, I'm really a boy. And the reason why I mention this is there's a case in Ghana of, I think there are a set of twins who were raised as girls, but identify as boys. And I think the problem that we have, especially as people who are seen as religious or people from certain cultural backgrounds, but I would say more so on the religion part, especially with Christians. I am one of them, as in I am a Christian. We tend to always want to have an answer for everything. We don't seem to be comfortable in saying, as for this one, I don't know. We seem to want to have to be able to explain why somebody is gay or explain why somebody is born with both sexual organs. The fact is, we don't know all the answers, and we need to sometimes just accept that we just don't know. But I do believe personally that there has been at times intolerance on both levels, on both sides, on the side of the LGBT community and on the side of the non-LGBTQ community. I think there has been some intolerance, but I think we need to be able to come to the table with the mindset that we are not coming to judge the other party, but we're coming to listen and hear. Because the fact of the matter is, those of us who are straight have never had any experience of being gay. We don't know what it's like to be gay. We may have our views on it, we may wish to judge it, but we don't know. So until we sit down and listen to somebody from that community, we aren't in a position to know what that person's needs are. What I think that we have lost in all of this is the lack of humanity in all of this, but I'll get there. I'll get to that point in a minute. Blessed says, recently in a school in the States, Burma, or Sit or Yoruba, how did you know I could even reach you, has gone into the girls' loo and raped somebody. Okay. So, okay, I think I saw that story. Yes, I mean, and clearly that's not right. But does that justify a bill being passed for the whole of the LGBTQ community? Or, because at the end of the day, personally, if that person still has male organs, then I would say then they use the teachers' toilets and not go into the boys' toilets or the girls' toilets. Personally, I think that would be an easy win for this very reason. But, you know, we can't speak for every situation. Ajuab Wahili says, the priority should be embracing all existing laws meant to protect victims. Enforcement is what is lacking. Absolutely. We should stop turning a blind eye on sexual crimes we're comfortable with. Girlfriend, I have to clap. And that's what it is. It's what we're comfortable with. And vilifying one group of people only. Protect our children, boys and girls, from abuse of all kinds by all people, including their peers. We certainly don't have our priorities right. I couldn't agree with you more on that point. It's sexual crimes that we're comfortable with. And here is the thing. If we are going to take a religious standpoint, I am a minister in my church, okay? So again, I do believe I speak with a certain level of authority. If we are going to take a religious standpoint on this issue, that it's not right and it's a sin and what have you, then according to the Bible, the act of homosexuality, fornication and adultery are grouped together. And so therefore, if we are going to criminalize homosexuality, then included in that should be adultery, at the very least. Because in that, marriage is supposed to be between a husband and a wife, in terms of Christian marriage. And so therefore, anybody who is in addition to that, or allows somebody to come into that marriage, is committing adultery. And if we are going to vilify one group based on Christian principle and teaching, then the other group should be included. And this is why when you make the point, Ajua, of, you know, wanting to criminalize sexual practices that we're not comfortable with, that is most certainly one of them. I do not see as Christians how we are able to say homosexuality is bad, but adultery, it happens. And because we have been biased in what we believe should offend or what we believe is unholy and what is a bigger sin, that is why in the Catholic Church, the rape of these young boys has been prevalent and has gone unchecked, with the Vatican, for most of the part, being very silent when it has come to that issue. So my point is, should we criminalize adultery if we are allowing religious leaders, okay, to be able to dictate what should be made law in Ghana. Because if we are going on the basis of religion, then we cannot pick one part and leave the other. What that makes us is hypocrites. And the Bible is quite clear on how God sees hypocrites. So just putting it out there. Because what we're doing is we are acting as judges to say this sin is bad, but this sin is worse. But in the Bible, it doesn't give us that luxury of being able to determine which is worse than the other. They are all bad. For me, when I read the bill, and those of you that haven't read the bill, if you want to read it, it's 36 pages. It's very interesting. I did tag the first 2 pages of the bill when I was talking about this. Do go and read it. Now, I believe that we are failing to see the human being behind the sexuality. That is what I personally find an issue. That we are talking about gays, lesbians, we are not seeing the human being behind the sexuality. And for me, it makes me uncomfortable. Because if we fail to see the person behind the sexuality, especially for those of us who claim to be Christian and are ministers and pastors and apostles and whatever, we will not be able to fulfill what our Christian obligation is in being able to support that community. And when I say support, I'm not saying by having my multicolored scarf and going on a gay pride march. I'm talking about listening to the needs of that person. Because for as long as we look at the gay, the lesbian, the trans, we are not seeing the person. And that is where we are failing. And because we didn't see the person is why we could come up and say, if you suspect somebody of being gay, report them so that they can be arrested and thrown into jail. Now, the other thing, the other issue that brings up for me with this very, what's the word? Arbitrary sentencing system that we have in Ghana. You know, you steal a goat and you're given 5 years in jail. However, you can go and rape a child and you can go to the family, slip them some money, offer to pay for the child's medical bills, and you can go scot-free and go and rape again. Now, as far as I'm aware, rape is a crime against the state, not against a person. I may be wrong, but that is what I understand. And if it's a crime against the state, then an individual should not have the discretion to decide that case out of a legal process. But yet still in Ghana, it happens all the time. Don't forget, I ran the charity Who Will Hear My Cry, raising awareness on rape, child abuse and domestic violence. And though, you know, I'm not running the charity in its typical context as I was before, I still deal with cases. And that is quite common for cases to be settled out of court. In fact, even DOFSU, who are there to protect children, have advised people, because I've dealt with them, to settle out of court, not allow the case to be progressed from being reported to the police. Now, my point is this. If we are not concerned about this group of people, and we're so passionate about sentencing people to 5 years, and even the person that's not gay, them suspecting and not reporting, sentencing them to 10 years. But the one who rapes a child can go and pay money and settle a hospital bill. Please tell me whether we have our priorities in order or not. How is that okay? And here's the thing. So when we want to get on our moral high horse as Christian people or as other religious leaders, the LGBTQ community are looking at us as a bunch of hypocrites. So it further widens the divide and arms people with this attitude of, but who are you to tell me when you can't even do X? And I would have to hold my hand up and say guilty as charged. On the issue of sentencing, I literally messaged somebody a few days ago who is campaigning about the sentencing system in Ghana. It's absolute nonsense. I am surprised in 2021 that we have such a ridiculously inhumane way of sentencing people. The number of people who are sentenced to go to prison who have got mental health problems is ridiculous. It's made worse for the fact that we don't even have decent prisons. We don't have prisons that are fit for animals. And not everybody in prison is a murderer, is a rapist, is an armed robber. Let's get that straight. So before you get on your moral high ground and say, well, they committed a crime, stealing a goat is not something that you should be in prison for 5-10 years, quite frankly. When you've got a paedophile that's walking free, or you have a pastor who is able to pay his way out. And yes, I have dealt with pastors before who have been guilty of sexual assault and rape, but that they are able to, do what they want. So let me see. Fifi, no, there is nowhere in the bill that says it can help you out of the condition of being gay. What it suggests, and I have read the bill, what it suggests is that they want to subject people who belong to that community to have certain treatment to stop them from being gay. It is dangerous, it is an infringement of their human rights, and it is inhumane, and it has never worked for anybody. So that's another part of the bill, but it's awful. Yemi says, I feel we are cherry picking as a society in pushing this bill and not others against child abuse, sexual abuse, and domestic abuse. Absolutely, and I've always had a problem with anything to do with this kind of stuff for that reason. I'm like, okay, it's kind of like this. You're in a burning house. And you've got your dog and you've got your baby who can't walk. Now, both are important, but one is importanter. Yeah, I don't want to say more important. One, because that will stick in your head. One is importanter than the other. The dog might be able to find its way out. As much as it's part of the family pet, you love the dog, growing up with the dog, and, dog is a man's best friend. That dog can't take priority over a helpless baby. Well, it's the same with this bill. With the passion and the zeal that has gone behind it, we need to take care of our children first and protect the children. What the adults are doing behind closed doors, let's get to them later. But in the order of priority, let's see this same passion and anger and complete horror of what's happening to our children. Because you may find that by dealing with some of our children, some of them may not end up in the LGBTQ community. Do not misquote me, because I have made very clear, going on the comment that a friend of mine who is gay made about being sexually abused as a young boy, because it was the only sex he knew, he wonders if his choices may be different. So I am basing that statement in association with that. I am by no means saying that if you can protect children from being sexually abused, it means that you are going to end up in, being gay. I'm not saying that. Okay. So you have to make sure that you really question some of these things without prejudice and not being too biased. And I'm just saying, let's be objective. What I try to do is put the information out there. And yes, of course I have my views. And this is a topic that we could go on and speak about till the cows come home. Vanessa says, can't stop. Very sad, as the mental well-being will cause more distress and lead to suicidal thoughts. Let me go on better, Vanessa. It won't just lead to suicidal thoughts. People are committing suicide. Yeah, because we are creating a society where we're saying that you must go underground. You as a person are of no value. You are your sexuality. And it has become a double-edged sword for the LGBTQ community, because sometimes I do believe the LGBTQ community acts more about their sexuality than them as a person. And this is one time where I feel that this is being used against that community. Okay, so Kolawole Brian says, I wouldn't be surprised some of our lawmakers, MPs, who are championing this bill may be in the closet. Of course they are. Absolutely. This has been shared with me in confidence, but because I have no way of verifying this, I am holding my horses. But come on. Did I not say at the beginning that sometimes the people that protest the most have their own stories? Don't forget that I work in the field of relationships. I have women who have spoken to me because their husbands are gay. Let's not even go there. Let's not even go there. Is this bill just steeped in fear? And is it because we fear what we don't know or what we pretend not to know? Because clearly this bill is steeped in something. Guys, if you've joined, can I just have 5 people share this broadcast so that we can just have this conversation in more homes than it is already? But you know what? My time is up. I'm just going to conclude here. And I just have a few things that I've written down that I want to share. But it's been a very... I mean, we only just scratched the surface. I really did just give summaries on some of these points. I'll just quickly read this comment. Colorwell says, what about fornication, adultery, etc., blah, blah, blah? Aren't they against our cultural values and the Bible abhors them? How come they are not being criminalized with the same passion? Well, I think I made that point earlier. And this is why I'm saying that, you know, as people, we shouldn't be hypocritical. You know, we should be honest, you know. Let me read this one. Let me see. Says, I feel we... Okay, I think I did read that. Let me read somebody who hasn't commented. Sheila says, they will sweep it under the carpet. I think that I don't know what that was in relation to, but surely it wasn't anything positive that they'd be sweeping under the carpet. Jacqueline Banda, thank you for joining. Sheila, I don't believe you've been on here before, so I would like to welcome you. Thank you very much. My brother Nicky Cartel is on here. So my brother is a producer and he has a new single out called Kine Nawa. So those of you who are hours out, you will understand. It means you are mine. It's excellent. Nicky, if you could actually post the link of that song and your YouTube page, that would be great. And people can actually have a listen. And actually, I have sang one of the tracks, which is coming out on an album pretty soon. So, right, let me summarize here. Okay, why am I reading in my head? Sheila says, I agree with you on not knowing much about their situation, but we as Ghanaians, we are not there yet to accept LGBTQ. We are not ripe for it yet. Morally, emotionally, mentally, and physically, we are nowhere close. That's because we're very fake. I've always said this, not just about LGBTQ issues. Ghanaians, we like to pretend a lot. Okay? Like I said, if it's so rampant in our schools, and somebody that wanted to contradict what I was saying actually confirmed that it has been in our school for years, unless we're going to do like an educational genocide where we go into school and we just kill all the children, the fact of the matter is these children grow to be adults. They are the same children that grow and take positions in parliament, take positions in the bank, are entrepreneurs, are bank managers, are our teachers. So where do these children go? Do they not go into this same society that claims it's not part of our culture and is not part of our society? They don't just die when they reach Form 5 or when they do their A-levels, or they die when they go to university. They still live and grow up big and ugly like me. Okay? We are part of the society. So I'm saying that, so when we say that we are not used to it and we're not, it's a lie. Because some of you have been in same-sex relationships, whether you're male or female. And when nobody is looking, you go back to that way of life. So at the very least, if there's one thing that I would like us to agree on here, let's stop saying it's not part of our community just because we don't like it, or just because it's uncomfortable, or just because we want to pretend. We pretend a lot. When I started talking out about rape, child abuse and domestic violence, I was told that no, sexual abuse, it happens over abroad. I'm like, huh? Are you mad? It happens here like hell. And it took people like myself who were unapologetic, who would not shut up, who would even, have death threats made, against them and still say, I don't care because it's the truth, I'm speaking it. Right, let me round up. Conclusion. The world is changing and we have to move with times. It doesn't mean we have to forget who we are. And when I say move with the times in this context, it's an accepting that these people are people and they are part of our community. The fact that somebody hasn't tattooed on their forehead LGBTQ doesn't mean that's not the person cooking your food. Doesn't mean that's not your Uber driver. Doesn't mean that's not the person that when you tripped up helped you up, because they're still people. What is it that we're so afraid of? And is the fear justified? Agreement comes with understanding, and so should disagreement. Only understand the fundamental facts and understand the parameters under which one can operate, and then you can decide what you agree with and what you disagree with. But you can't disagree with what you don't know. And that's why I said that it's important that both parties come to the table and have open discussions with that community and hear what it's like. Right, my next point. When we concentrate on the needs of adults, that takes precedent over the needs of children. We fail the whole society. And I think I've made that point. Why don't we see the same zeal and passion for children sexually abused? I've made that point. Crimes of rape and abuse are against the state. So why can individuals settle out of court or a police station? Whoops, hold on. Something funny happened there. The other thing that I really want to do before I go off, and this is really to the religious leaders and church leaders. The one thing the Bible never said was that we should be heterosexual. And before you start screaming, what the Bible said is that we should be holy. And you know why God didn't say in the Bible to be heterosexual? Because it would have justified fornication, so long as it was with the opposite sex. He said, be holy for I am holy. He didn't say be heterosexual for I am heterosexual. There is a reason for that. Because, and this is why I'm saying that we cannot break up the different sins, because according to the Bible, whether you're a Christian or not, we are talking about according to the Bible, so forget whether I'm a Christian. According to the Bible, if you commit these sins, be it homosexuality, be it fornication or adultery, they are classed as the same. We as human beings have decided to categorize them. But that is not what we are allowed to do. I don't know what's happened there. My light is, something's gone funny. Okay, so what the Bible is saying, that be holy for I'm holy. If you are practicing holiness in accordance to the Bible, it doesn't matter what you identify as or what your sexuality is. Now, I believe as Christians or as religious leaders, we have failed the LGBTQ community, and I'll tell you why. The one thing that we are supposed to do as religious leaders, or at least let me speak about Christians, is to be compassionate. And if we want to see what Jesus would do, we have an example with the woman at the well who was accused of basically sleeping off with different men. And in her time, her punishment should have been to be stoned. And that is where that phrase, and you know, it's so amazing how many people hate the Bible, but pick a lot of sayings from the Bible, that he who is without sin cast the first stone. That's where it came from. So we are given a template on how we are supposed to behave towards people who are overtaken by sin. We have failed as a Christian community. Humanity is what must stand. We are not being compassionate. Compassion does not mean agreement. Compassion just means agreement. And I'm glad people are logging off, because I'm sure that this is uncomfortable for people and they don't want to hear this, because I'm supposed to go on this. It's a sin and it's an abomination. But the fact is, as we've mentioned, so are other things. The Bible says in John 3:16 that for God so loved the world that he gave. He didn't say for God so loved Christians, because before we became Christians, we also were walking a certain path that in accordance with the Bible was not pleasing to God. But God gave us enough grace to figure ourselves out so that we could accept him. Why is it that now that we have seen the light, we are further compounding somebody's darkness, or what we perceive to be somebody's darkness? How is that appropriate and right as Christians? I don't know why this place has gone dark. I fail to see how that's right. The other scripture that I came across was 2 Corinthians 5:17-19. It says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. Hear this, that God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ. This is the bit I want you to catch. Not counting people's sins against them. And he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. Do you know essentially what that's saying? It's saying don't judge people. God has called us unto himself. And so therefore, we have been given the commission to call all people, not to discriminate against them because of the things they've done or how we perceive them, but because they are people and because they are important to God, bring them all together and reconcile them to him. If we do not become that voice of compassion and of love, we have failed as Christians. What we become are the modern day Pharisees, picking up the stones to say, kill her, and a voice saying that he who is without sin cast the first stone. Guys, I'm out of time. I'm 10 minutes over. I'd like to keep this to an hour. Thank you very, very much for watching. I really do appreciate your time. I hope that this has been helpful. I will be here the same time next week. Continue having the conversation after, it ends. Keep on sharing. It's been lovely coming back. I'm glad to be back. So this is the third series of Speak with Dilys. Great to have you. And as I always end by saying, in all you're getting, get understanding. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And I shall see you same time next week. God bless. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. God bless you. Take care.